The blackened eye sockets around Cassandra's hooded lids were perfectly symmetrical, not a smear inside. And as if that wasn't impressive enough, she had also added dramatic shadows under her sharp cheekbones. Stenciled on, or at least that's how it looked to Lillian, were delicate black lines depicting the exposed grin of the Bonekeeper's skull over her lovely face. With several rapid blinks, Lillian realized she'd been staring again. She flushed and quickly looked down at the jar.
In the name of our God Emperor, stand aside!
From somewhere in the crowd, more youthful voices joined Lillian, Silverstein, and Maury in song. For a moment, it seemed the blessed hymn was restoring some sensibility to the civilians, as a few tore themselves away from the fight to flee. Keeping a practiced finger flat against the trigger guard, Adelaide followed close behind Nelestra, who had taken point and was more than willing to encourage rioters out of their way with the butt of her pistol and her fists. For some of the unruly participants, a single glance down the barrel of Adelaide's gun was enough to deter them. Gentle gaze. "You don't have to look at me to listen, so I'm going to keep talking," Silverstein continued, a maternal vigor returning to her voice. "They may be your first, but they're not going to be your last. And one day they will all be at the Golden Throne, watching to see what you do to avenge their sacrifice." Adelaide admired Silverstein's empathy and wisdom, but a small, shameful part of her envied it. Watching her now, seeing the trust and respect that shone in the eyes of the other novitiates as they turned to their eldest, Adelaide couldn't help but feel a flicker of inadequacy.
And yet they run amok like wild beasts!
The priest's augmetic voice wheezed as he drew himself up to his full height.
"How dare you, Lady Magistrate! It is your draconian policies that have pushed these downtrodden faithful to desperation. I can hardly blame them for clinging to some messages over others when one feeds and the other starves. The increased tithes, the labor conscriptions, you leave them no recourse."
Recourse?
The magistrate scoffed.
Is that what you call this madness?
That they would never lose their way or fall to heresy. As you grew, so did your world and everything you thought you understood. Some days it felt as if you couldn't grow fast enough to keep pace with your expanding awareness and the imperium of mankind, as well as the threats that loomed both within the materium and without. You learned to hate the Xenos, the mutant and the witch, the truest and greatest threats to the imperium. With every step forward, fire and fury blazed in haphazard displays. However, it was the bone-etched artistry covering the walls that captivated Lillian's attention. Depictions of forgotten battles and solemn ceremonies, carved by lost souls. These were her favorites. Silent hymns sung for warriors long gone, and she wished they could stop, or even slow down to admire them. Her duty was to safeguard such sacred relics against any foe daring enough to threaten them, no matter how formidable. The rest of the run passed by in a blur of exhaustion.
"Of course you are."
Maury's whisper still exuded an infectious enthusiasm.
"You're one of us now, Lily. We're the daughters of the Emperor."
A sense of warmth spread through Lillian's chest at Maury's words. Sister Charity's breathing was slowing. She stepped closer to Adelaide, towering over the young, unarmored girl. "By this time next year, at least one of you will be dead," she said with chilling calmness, and for a moment, her gaze landed on Lillian. "Judging by your performances so far, I'd wager it might be more." She leaned in close, her power armor grinding ominously as she locked eyes with Adelaide. Followed by wet gurgles and choked gasps that faded all too quickly into eerie silence. They cut down the slumbering progenitor with calculated, remorseless ease, extinguishing young lives like spent candles. You don't know why you awoke when you did, but it was just in time to glimpse the uncannily tall, armored beings a few rows down, making quick work of each row, bunk by bunk. You were paralyzed with fear. If you tried to run, they would surely see you.